Why is it that AI faces look fake the second they move or talk? Well, that's because nothing is holding that face together once it's in motion. It personally took me many failed attempts to find a solution for this. So in this video, I'll show you the exact settings and reference trick I use to take a face from obviously fake to one no one can tell is AI. And that reference trick really just comes down to one image. So the first thing I do is head inside Higgsfield, and the link to it is in the description if you want to follow along. Now, the goal is to have one face I can use whenever I want, the same guy in every image. And the way you pull that off is with something called a reference sheet. If you've never heard of this before, a reference sheet is basically a single image that shows the same face from a bunch of different angles at once. So the AI always has something solid to copy from. But before I build the proper one, let me quickly show you what most people do instead. So in Higgsfield, I open Image in the top menu and a list of all the models drops down. I scroll to GPT Image 2 and select it. Then, down at the bottom next to the prompt box, there are 3 quick settings I set before anything else. I put the aspect ratio on 16:9. That's just the standard widescreen shape. I leave the resolution on 2K since that's more than enough for a quick test like this, and I keep the quality on high. Now with those set, I can write the prompt. And for the lazy version, I keep it simple, just one line, something like a handsome young man, portrait style, and looking straight to the camera. As you can see, for one quick line, the face it hands back honestly isn't bad at all. So you might think you could just treat this one image as your reference and move on. But here's where it falls apart. The second I try to make another image of that exact same guy, he comes back looking a little different. That's because the model has nothing to hold on to. On top of that, one image only gives me one angle, so it has no idea what the side of his face even looks like. And that's exactly why a reference sheet works, and here's how I build one. So I'm staying right here in GPT Image 2, but this time I make one change. I switch the resolution up to 4K. Then, instead of one quick face, I ask it for a single image split into 6 panels of the same man. The way I lay it out is 3 shots across the top, a straight-on portrait, a 3/4 turn, and a full-side profile, so it captures his whole head. Then 3 close-ups underneath, one of his eye, one of his nose and cheek, and one of his mouth. And there he is, the same guy, but now from every angle. Those 3 close-ups at the bottom are important for me, because that's where I get the real skin, the pores, the little stubble hairs, the texture a fake face never has. And that's where most of the work in the prompt goes, being really specific about the skin, asking for a slightly uneven face instead of a perfect one, a bit of shine on the forehead, a little shadow under the eyes, and no retouching. Basically, the more detail you put in, the more real it comes back. And by the way, the reason I make it zoom in this close is that fake AI skin always falls apart up close. It just goes all smooth. So if mine still looks real even this zoomed in, you know it'll hold up anywhere. That first quick face I made was fine at 2K, but I'm never reusing it. This sheet is what everything else is built from, so it has to be 4K. Otherwise, those close-ups go soft, and you lose all that texture. And the best part is, because of that one sheet, I've now got a single locked-in face I can remake from any angle as many times as I want. But as good as this sheet is, it still isn't the thing I animate. There's one more image I need to pull out of it first. And that one image I pull out is the start frame, the shot I will animate. And it's where that sheet lets me put the same face into any scene I want. So I head back into GPT Image 2, and I keep everything on 4K, but this time I do one new thing. I drop that 6-panel sheet in as the reference image, so the AI holds on to his exact face. Then I write the prompt for his opening shot, and since the sheet is already handling his face, I can keep this part really simple. Just him, chest up, looking straight into the camera, sitting in a normal lived-in room. And here's what comes back. The same face from the sheet, now sitting in a real room like someone just took a quick photo of him. So I framed his chest up on purpose, close enough that you read his face, but wide enough that it feels like a real photo, not an obvious AI headshot. And I put him in a normal lived-in room instead of a clean studio, because real people film in messy spaces. Now, because the sheet already locked his face from every angle, I don't have to stop at one image. So I can keep that exact same prompt and just swap out the scene. So I put him into a podcast setup with a mic in front of him, then a completely different living room and different clothes. And look at that, it's the same guy every single time. That's the part you can take as far as you want. One sheet gives me that same face in any room, any outfit, any setup you can think of. Basically, that one sheet is my actor now. So every video I make after this can reuse the same face without ever building it again. Now, out of all of these, the one I animate is the most basic one, the guy just sitting at the desk, because the simpler the scene, the less there is for the AI to get wrong once he starts moving. So now I can drop the same exact guy into as many scenes as I want, all off that one sheet. But that video is where the hard part starts, because the second I make him move is where this whole thing usually falls apart. So first, and I'm doing this on on purpose. I'm going to animate him the lazy way, so you can see exactly what goes wrong. So I take that desk start frame over to the video side of Higgsfield. That's video up at the top, then select Seedance 2.0. Now, before Seedance will even let me load the image in, there's one quick step I have to run first. I head into Upload Media, then Image Generation, and run Check Eligibility on the start frame, which is basically just a quick check it needs to pass first. Once that clears, I load the start frame in. Then I set the duration to 15 seconds, put the resolution on 4K, and keep the aspect ratio at auto. And I make sure the audio is turned on because I want him actually talking, not just moving. So for the lazy version, I keep the prompt simple. I just tell Seedance to start from that frame and have him talk to the camera. I make him say something simple, like he finally cleaned his apartment. And here's what comes back.
I finally cleaned my whole apartment today. Took me like 3 hours. I don't even know why I put it off so long. It always feels good after. Now I'm just gonna enjoy it before it gets messy again.
His delivery is completely flat, with barely any emotion or natural movement, so the whole performance immediately feels AI generated. That's the lazy version. The character talks, but there's no real performance behind it. But the result changes once I give Seedance more to work with. So the first fix is the sheet, and I go back into Seedance with the exact same start frame. Everything's still on 15 seconds, 4K, auto, audio on. But this time, right next to the start frame, I load that 6-panel sheet in as a face reference. That gives Seedance several consistent views of his face to follow throughout the shot. The second fix is the prompt, and instead of just handing it a line to read, I direct him like an actor. I ask for a small breath before he starts, a little shrug and a half smile, his eyebrows lifting when he makes a point, a quick glance off to the side and back, one hand coming up as he speaks, and loose pacing with real pauses and filler words. Because a real person isn't a still photo that happens to move, it's all the tiny stuff, and if you don't ask Seedance for it, it won't put it in. Now let's see what this gives us back.
Honestly, I finally cleaned my whole apartment today. Took me like 3 hours. I don't even know why I put it off so long, you know? It always feels good after. So now I'm just gonna, I guess, enjoy it before it gets messy again.
And this result is much better. You can see different expressions as he speaks, the side of his face stays consistent when he turns, and overall, he looks like a real person talking to the camera. And that's a face that moves and talks the whole way through, and no one can tell it's AI. And every piece of that runs inside one tool, Higgsfield. The same method works for any face you want, not just this one example. And you don't need a film crew or someone on camera to pull it off. Once that sheet is built, you're the one calling the shots, what they say, how they move, what room they're standing in. That's the actual unlock here. You're not fighting the AI to hold a face together anymore, you're just directing it. And once the identity is locked, every new scene becomes a creative decision instead of another consistency problem. So sign up to Higgsfield with my link in the description and build your own realistic talking head video today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.